So sit up straight. Shoulders are level. Scoop your lower belly in and up, so you're not gripping, but it just makes your back straighter. Your eyes are closed. And come in again through the door, come to your cushion, and leave your day or your week behind. And begin to watch your breath. So you have an exhale and then an inhale, and that counts as one. And so focusing on your breath as it comes out of your nostrils, count to 10 with the out breath and the in breath counting as one. And just staying focused at the tip of your nose. And if you start wandering off, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Just come back to the tip of your nose and start over again. So what we're doing is we're bringing ourselves to neutral. That's the point of doing the breath meditation. Last week we meditated on bringing somebody that we cared very much to mind, putting them in front of us. And today I'd like to focus on a different group of people. This is maybe somebody that a group of people that you work with, or your family, or a group of people in a subway car, or in an airplane. And so bring them to your mind. And so see these people as being happy, being at peace, not having any suffering. And how would they interact with each other? And what would it feel like to you? So when you're ready, open your eyes and we'll say some prayers. I made copies of the two prayers that we do at the beginning and also the prayer at the end, and I'll give the one out at the end that's for the end. So the first one we do is the mandala offering. Sashi Puki Jushin Meto Tram Rirabling Shi Ninde Kempadi Sange Shindu Mikte Uwaji Drokun Namda Shingla Shuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamyatayani. And then the other one we do 3 times. Sanye Chudang Soki Choknamba Changchu Bardu Dakni Gyapsutri Daki Chinyen Gipe Sunamki Drola Penchir Sange Chupar Shok Sange Chudang Soki Choknamba Changchu Bardu Dakni Gyapsutri Daki Chinyen Gipe Sunamki Drola Penchir Sange Chupar Shok Sange Chudang Soki Choknamba Changchu Bardu Dakni Yapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Sinamki Drola Penchir Sange Chupar Shok. So we're studying the 3 principal paths, 3 principal teachings of Buddhism. The book we're using is 14 verses by Tsongkhapa. That's what the part that is bold in the book, with a commentary by Pabonka Rinpoche. And so the 3 principal paths, we talked about the first one, renunciation, which is identifying the suffering that we see around us and wanting out of that suffering. And then we started talking about bodhicitta last week, which is taking that understanding of suffering that we identify in ourselves, the suffering that we have, and turning it around, and as it is focused on other people. So first I need to identify that I'm suffering, and then that allows me to see that other people are suffering as well. And so we need that first thing first, because if I don't think I'm suffering, then how am I going to see that somebody else is suffering? You know, it's like, well, get over yourself, you know. You could have that kind of attitude. So we started talking about the benefits of bodhicitta last week. And so this is the benefits of having the wish to become enlightened for all beings, right? This is what bodhicitta is, the wish to become enlightened for all beings. And we talked about the different benefits, and one of the benefits, probably the one that's the best perk of having bodhicitta, is that it's the prerequisite to becoming a Buddha in this life. So what I wanted to do is just quickly go through the 4 laws of karma. And Stephen, do you know those 4 laws? Just because I think you're the only one who was here in that class when we did that. So.
Yeah, I don't know if I have my
it's
order.
It's okay. Whatever. We'll play with it, and then you won't forget it. Especially the ones you forget now.
Yeah. Karma expands. I don't know word for word.
Well, the first one is that the result is similar to the cause.
Okay.
Right, that's the first one.
Okay.
The result is similar to the cause.
And then the second one would be karma expands?
Exactly, right. So then the second one is that the result is bigger than the cause. And they use the example of a seed. Like you take an acorn, it produces a oak tree. This is a similar, the cause and the result are similar. An acorn produces an oak tree. And then what Stephen said is that the result is bigger than the cause. So the acorn as a cause ends up producing this gigantic big tree. So the result is bigger than the cause.
If you did it, you must see the result.
Right, yeah, and I get those mixed up, right? That's the 4th one, but
it's if you did not do it, you won't see it.
Exactly, yeah. The next one is if you don't do the if there's no cause, then there's no result. So if there's no seed, if there's no acorn, there can't be an oak tree. And then the last one is that if there is a cause, then there must be a result. And that one we'll talk about at a later date. So it's not like if you do something negative, you must get that result from that thing. But there are ways to work with that, which we're not going into in this class. But don't lose hope about that. So those are the 4 laws of karma. So we were talking about one of the best perks, one of the best benefits of having bodhicitta is that you can become a Buddha in this life. So one aspect of Buddhahood is that you're surrounded by holy beings. That's one aspect of it. You're surrounded by people, you're surrounded by beings who are ready to guide you and take care of you. So if we're talking about karma and we're talking about like produces like, then what do you think would be the cause of being surrounded by holy beings?
Treating others like holy beings?
What is it?
Treating others like holy beings?
Yeah, it's a similar cause of having, we're talking about bodhicitta, having this idea of wanting to take care of other people ourselves. So doing that, as it grows, then you become surrounded by beings who can take care of you and guide you in a very ultimate way. So the karma of having that happen, being surrounded by holy beings, is having a virtuous state of mind towards all beings. So the 10 non-virtues, the 10 virtues, non-virtues in Buddhism. So in regards to our interactions with others, I mean, we're avoiding killing and stealing and sexual misconduct and lying and divisive talk and harsh words and all of these non-virtues we're avoiding doing with other people, and doing that produces the karma of being surrounded by holy beings, seeing ourselves as a Buddha and being surrounded by other Buddhas. So also when we talked about this wish for enlightenment, it's the wish to become enlightened for the sake of all beings. And so to become a Buddha in this life, one of the benefits, and in order to become a Buddha in this life, then you must practice the Vajrayana, you must practice Tantra. But the only way to practice that is that you need to have bodhicitta in your heart. You need to have those three principal paths in your heart. And they say actually that if you have those three, that realizations of those tantric realizations will arise based on having those. So we're going to talk about, well, why do we want to be a Buddha? You know, why do we want to do that? And that's part of today's class. So, so last week we talked about the benefits, and this week we're going to talk about the method to get bodhicitta. And so I think the definition of bodhicitta can be a little bit confusing, because we're saying it's the wish to become enlightened for the sake of all beings. And so when you hear wish, it sort of feels like, it feels sort of light. It feels sort of flimsy in a certain sense. Like, oh yeah, I wish, you know, I wish for this and that. And so but it's not a wishy-washy wish. It's when you're having this wish, when you're cultivating this wish, you end up in the trenches. It's a very difficult thing to get this wish, and so it's not wishy-washy. It's you're ultimately going to be doing battle with yourself. So because you know this battle is that we're really good at taking care of ourselves. We're really good at taking care of number one, and hi. And so we really have to, you know, this thing, this bodhicitta is something we have to cultivate. It's you know, doesn't come automatically. So we're going to talk about two methods. The first method to get bodhicitta is called Daksha Namje. Daksha Namje. So please say Daksha.
Daksha.
Namje.
Namje.
Daksha Namje.
Daksha Namje.
Yeah. So Dak means self, and Shen means other. Dak is self, Shen is other. Nyam means equal. Should I write that down? Dak is self. Shen is other. Nyam is equal. And here this J is exchange. So the first method, and we're not going to go into this one really a lot, but just to give you an introduction to it. There's 3 courses that are on the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and this has gone into much more. But just so you know what the 2 methods are. So this one is exchanging self and others, this first one. So it means pretending you are the other person and thinking what will make the other person happy. And so I was one of the things I was thinking, it's not about what you want to believe is going to make the other person happy, but it's really trying to get inside of their head and thinking what is going to make them happy. So like I think of what's a nice gift for my husband for his birthday, and I'm thinking, oh, I want to like go out to a new restaurant, and the gift will be we'll go to a new restaurant, and isn't that nice? But when I think about it, it's maybe not what he really wants, right? I mean, what do you think? I'm thinking about what I like, and I'm calling it a gift, but this exchanging self and others, it's getting more into the head of the other person. What would they really like?
It's like when Homer Simpson gets his wife a bowling ball for Christmas.
Oh, right, okay, yes, exactly like that. I'm sure Marge loved the bowling ball, right? And ultimately, it's about trying to get the other person out of samsara. I mean, we'll talk about it more, but ultimately, it's about that, out of this suffering that, this suffering of suffering, the outright suffering, the suffering of change, that everything we have, what we have that's good will change. And then pervasive suffering, old age and death. Ultimately, we want to get ourselves and we want to get everyone else out of that state. And they say that if you start meditating well on this, you start to forget yourself, and then you start getting confused about yourself. And so you start forgetting about yourself, but then the karma of that is that you start getting whatever it is that you want, as soon as you're able to stop always thinking about what you want. And so this particular method is a lot easier for us to understand than the next method that's presented in the book that we're doing. And so to talk about the next method, so that's Daksha Nyamje. So to talk about the next method that we're going to talk about, and this book this is what we're going to spend really the rest of the class on, is the second method. So, but to talk about the second method, what I would like to do is to talk about future lives first, because this next method, you have to be more in that frame of mind of thinking about future lives. So, in Buddhist logic, which is also one of the ACI courses, Proof of Future Lives is the 4th course, and then there's another course later on down the line that's a logic course. But we're not allowed to present as an argument anything in which someone does not accept the original premise for. Now it's like the Indians.
We're having human sacrifices.
It's the human sacrifice. So the idea is that when you present an argument, you're using what someone, all the components the other person accepts, they just haven't put it together in the same, in the way that you're presenting, right? So so I could say, let's see, well, let's just let's go right to the proof of future lives and see if within that it can work out. So the proof of future lives is from the Pramana Vartika. This is the commentary on valid perception. And I don't know, I went over this in a couple of classes ago. And so we started out by saying that this cup has is made up of a certain material, right? This cup is made out of clay. The main material of this cup, what we call the Nirlengi Gyu, the main material substance of this cup is clay. It did require somebody shaping it. It did require going into an oven to be fired. But the main material of it is clay. You wouldn't have this if it weren't for what we call the secondary factors, which is the heat and the molding process. So you need the secondary factors, you need the heat, and you need the clay in order to make the cup. But the main material that we're talking about, the main thing that we're talking about that this is composed of is clay, right? That's what it comes from. It is a similar substance that came before it. So the clay is a similar substance that came before this became a cup, right? Is that okay so far? Okay. So then if we want to talk about past and future lives, what we need to talk about is what is the difference between body and mind, because mostly what we think is that when the body dies, the mind dies. We don't really think about it very much, really, but when we have some kind of fuzzy feeling about, like, when the body dies, everything goes. But I would like for you to consider the possibility that there's another way to think about it. And it will take some contemplating to see if it's acceptable to you. And you should never accept it if it's not acceptable to you. But I would suggest to play with the idea and see if there's something reasonable to it. So what we want to do is talk about body and mind. The body is, you can see it, you can touch it, you can cut it. It's tangible. It has those kinds of qualities. The mind is, is it here or is it here? You can't see it. Your mind can go to the subway that you took to get here. Your mind can go to your refrigerator at home. the Buddhist definition of mind is that it is clear and aware. Your mind, we have awareness, and so the mind and body are not the same substance. Is that sort of agreeable so far?
Yeah.
Sort of. Okay, right? They're two different things. So then we say, well, you know, in terms of proving future lives, then when the body dies, you know, the body is from. So then, if we're saying they're two different things, then what's the cause of the body? You know, like from the beginning, what's the cause of the body? What causes our body? What's the if the clay the clay is to the cup as the blank is to the body? What's the main material that the body comes from the beginning?
Energy.
What?
Energy.
Energy? Well, I think the body has energy, but the stuff that you can touch is coming from something before that you can touch. So we would say it comes from a sperm and an egg, right? So those have the same qualities as the body. So the body does have energy. This is true. But the main material that the body is made out of comes from a sperm and an egg, right? That's okay? Okay. And this is, I'm saying it's okay because I'm trying to keep with what the Buddhists are saying is acceptable logic. You know, if I present something that you accept everything along the way, then you must accept the conclusion. But we'll see with that. So if we can say that the body comes from a sperm and an egg, then where does mind come from? I mean, we agreed that they're different substance, that the mind is clear and knowing, and the body is tangible. So they're coming from different things, and so we have awareness now. Where did that awareness come from? If we're saying our mind is clear and aware, then where did that awareness come from? Where did the awareness of you sitting here now, where did it come from?
Previous moment of awareness.
What is that?
A previous moment of awareness.
Yeah, right. So as what is it?
Experience.
Your experience, right? Your awareness of whatever it is. Like you were aware coming up the stairs, and before that you were on the street, and you have an awareness of being on the street, which led to your awareness of coming up the stairs, which came to your awareness of being in the room. So in terms of past and future lives, what's said is that, you know, if you can prove that just one previous moment of awareness, then you've proved past and future lives, because every one of those moments of awareness came from a previous moment of awareness, and on, you know, back and back and back and back, you know, through countless lives. So that's essentially the proof of future lives, that yeah.
But isn't there a moment that awareness arises?
Well, they say it's beginningless, because it would always have to be there would always have to be a cause for the awareness. So the cause would always have to be one before. So
it seems like there's a moment, I think we can see a moment in babies or small children when they begin to be, I mean, we don't know the instant, but it seems like there's a moment when a consciousness starts to form. It doesn't seem to me that it's the same every previous moment. I don't know.
You're saying it's not the same as the previous moment.
I don't think so. I mean,
At an
it's been a long
individual-
time since I was a baby, but
At an individual level, maybe, as opposed to like a global level.
What do you mean?
So like for, I think this is what you're trying to say, you know, for a baby, they don't really have awareness in the same sense that we have when we were walking down the street and walking up the stairs. And
Mhm.
I don't know how old they are when that happens, you know, when they start to get awareness in that sense.
Oh, well, so maybe then it has to do with more like feeling than like that there's some awareness in the sense of feeling, and so that baby would always be feeling something and some awareness connected to that.
I read in the Yoga Sutras that say a baby was like walking on the ledge and was almost about to fall, it would start crying because it's scared of falling and it's scared of death. But how would a baby have that fear of death?
Oh.
People, and then it talked about instinct, but then they said, oh, it's just instinct. But where does that instinct come from? So that's an interesting point.
Yeah, I don't know. But I think maybe it's awareness, maybe not so much, I mean, it's some kind of awareness that develops into the next one. Maybe it's not exactly the awareness that we have at this moment, but it keeps it's the seed in the sense that awareness is can grow into something that, like an acorn is not really you know, an oak tree isn't identifiable as an acorn. I don't know if that addresses what you're thinking about, but I mean, I think you have to think in terms of like there's just some similar kind of awareness, some quality of what awareness is that goes to the next one, that goes to the next awareness. So it's not really the point of this class really to go into so much about past and future lives. It's just to touch on it, to get you thinking about it, and playing with it. I think a lot of the ideas that everything, all of this, you know, renunciation, bodhicitta, all of these are things to play with, and not feel like, oh, I can't, you know, I either can't do it or I can't accept it or anything like that. With the main thing is not to necessarily reject any of the ideas, but more, they say, to shelve them and come back to them at another time. And to me, that feels like a comfortable place to be. You know, you know, I don't have to accept it. I can play with it. I can play with some idea. Is there any way that this makes sense at all? And just let it percolate. Because one of the things, I mean, for me, I felt like when I first was studying this, I thought, oh, well, they're presented renunciation, bodhicitta, and correct view, and I kept feeling like, oh, I must get renunciation first, and in a certain level, in a certain way, you do, and then I must get bodhicitta whole and complete, and the next one, correct view, but there's a lot of going back and forth. So as you get some feeling about bodhicitta and thinking about other people's suffering, then you start having more feeling about your own suffering as well, and just it's more organic as opposed to just like, okay, I get one thing, it's complete, and I go on to the next thing. So I think it's true with a lot of the ideas that just even the laws of karma too. I mean, does that make sense, and how does it relate to other things as well? So the main argument for past and future lives is that it must be something that comes from similar stuff of the moment before. So whatever we're talking about, it must come from something similar, and it must come before. So that's the main gist of it. So does that make sense? Is that does it make sense that you could talk about the mind or a cup or the body in that kind of way? Is it something similar that comes from the moment before? So having said that, we're going to talk about the second method. So this Dakshinamurti was the first method, and this one is easier in a certain sense for us to hold on to. The second one requires us to play around with this idea of past and future lives. So this is the second one. The second one is the second one is Gyundre Menak. So say Gyundre Menak. Gyundre Menak. Gyun means cause. Dre means result. And Menak, and Dun, sorry, there's one more word, Dun. Dun means 7. 7, the number 7. And Menak is advices, personal advices. So the second method for developing the wish for enlightenment for the sake of all beings is called the 7-step cause and effect instruction. The 7-step cause and effect instruction. So it's a meditation that's called a personal advice. And they say that if you try it, you will get it. If you try to do it, if you try to do this meditation, there's 7 steps. We're going to go through all those 7 steps, and if you try it, you will get it. And then each step causes the next one. And so that's the homework question asks you, well, how does 1 cause 2? How does 2 cause 3? And like that. So we're talking, this is a 7-step cause and effect method. So I would ask you, though, to leave a place for number 0. So in your notes, leave a place for 0, and we'll come back to it. So the first one, so this is the 7-step cause and effect method. Can I erase this?
Sure.
So the first one is called marche. So please say marche.
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 Sorry, is that an A or O? Is that an A, M-A, or M-O?
Do you want the Tibetan written out?
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay. Marche. So the first, this part here is, forget the R, forget the Ra. What do you think this word is? Ma.
Mother. Mother.
Mother. Yes. This is mother. And the she means recognize. So this is number 1 of the 7-step cause and effect method. You're leaving room for 0, because we're going to get back to it. And so we went through proof of future lives because this one says that the first step is recognizing that everyone has been your mother. So that's the first one. Recognize everyone has been your mother. So you know, this is pretty tough. Think about that everyone has been your mother. And so this is to consider that our past lives have been countless. If our past lives have been countless, then we have been everything to everyone, and everyone has been everything to us. So it's completely conceivable within that context that everyone has been our mother. And so they say that the only way to accept that is through logic, which is what we were attempting to do with talking about past and future lives, and or the direct perception of emptiness. So you can prove it to yourself either of those two ways. Now we haven't talked about correct view, which is emptiness. We do that next class. We'll start talking about that. So I know we've been throwing this idea out of direct perception of emptiness, and next class we'll begin to talk about that, and it'll become more clear. So that's okay. You know, it's a little bit of this unknown, and it all starts coming together and merging and gelling and making sense, and then you have to go back and go over it again. And it's been really wonderful to have to go over this stuff after, like, you know, I took this class 20 years ago, and there's been a lot of courses in between, and it's just been so nice to do it again. So it's very rich, and it's very and it keeps giving. It's like, what is it? It's like one of those cows that just keep producing milk or something. You know, it's it keeps being very, very rewarding. So anyway.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You said that awareness is, the mind is clear and aware.
Mm-hmm.
I read somewhere that your awareness is separate from the mind. So, like, I'm just a little confused.
Well, I don't know. I don't know then how you would describe what I guess it would depend how whoever was saying that defined mind. I mean, I remember seeing one time His Holiness have a debate with, I think it was a Zen master, and they spent a lot of time just agreeing on what each of them meant in their tradition of certain terms. So, according to Buddhism, the definition of mind is that it's clear and knowing, or clear and aware. So I think it would just depend on what someone else is saying what mind means there. But all our thoughts come from associations, and so that is the mind is in our thoughts are in a stream then, and yeah. So let's see. That's the first one, is recognizing that all beings have been our mother. The next one is Drinjen. So please say Drinjen.
Drinjen.
Drinjen. Drin means kindness, and Dren means remember. Drin means kindness, and Dren means remember. And this one is remember the kindness of your mothers. So the first one is, first you have to recognize that all beings have been your mother. Once you recognize that all beings have been your mother, then you can remember their kindness. So what's their kindness? I mean, I think it comes up a lot, is that people say, well, I didn't really like my mother, or like sometimes you have this thing like, you hear, oh, you look like your mother, and you're like, oh my God, I look like my mother. It's like we're horrified by this. And then, but even that they carried us, for 9 months and gave birth to us. And I mean, it wrecks your body. And we wouldn't have, we wouldn't be here right now if they didn't do something. So you have to not think of like, well, I don't really like my mother, but that what was the sacrifice at the very least, and at the very minimum, they carried us and gave birth and kept us alive. And there's something in this that I wanted to read you. This one. Oh, this said, this is on page 100. It says, I was totally helpless, totally stupid, incapacitated, nothing more than some baby chick with a red rubber beak still yet to harden. But she swayed me on her fingertips and pressed me to her body's warmth and greeted me with a smile of love. So we're here, we're trying to remember our mother's kindness, and I was, when I was thinking about this, I thought, about a month or so ago, I went to visit my mother, and I slept over at her house, and it was like towards the coldest part of the morning. Like for me, I find I can sleep with a certain amount of covers on, and then always towards the morning I'm getting a little bit cold, because then the cold really sets in the room. But I can't sort of get it together to put more blankets on myself. But I slept over, and And at this time in the night, my mother comes in. She can't see very well at this point. She can't walk very well, and she comes in carrying a blanket and puts a blanket on me, and it's perfect. You know, it's like this is exactly the moment when I needed this blanket, and then she goes back out, and so this is the second one. Remembering our mother's kindness, that they just seem to keep doing oftentimes, right? Yeah, so the first one leads to the second one, is that you wouldn't remember their kindness if you didn't recognize that they were your mothers. That's the second one. So the third one is Drinso. So please say Drinso.
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 Drinso. So Drin is what?
Kindness.
Kindness, right. Yeah, Drin is kindness. And so is repay. So this is repaying the kindness of your mothers. So the first one is you recognize, everybody's been my mother. The second one is remembering their kindness. And this third one is to repay their kindness. You have that feeling, I want to repay the kindness. So you're thinking of someone who served you day and night, and you feel like I must repay this. I can't just take this for granted. I must give something back. I must repay. So that's the third one, repaying kindness. And so for me, I remember these three as like this is what's her name? Aretha Franklin. She has that song Respect, and it goes re, 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 right? Except this is re is recognize. This one is remember, and this one is repay. So I remember when I do my meditation to like, okay, what were the three re's, and get those. Then I can remember it. So let's see. Okay, so next one is okay. Let's see. Before we do the next one, maybe we should take a little break.
Sounds good.
Okay. And I have cookies. Somebody wants cookies. Thin mint
Brought
cookies.
cookies for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can't. I ate this s'more. Hold on. It was a calzone. It was a s'more calzone. I thought it was gonna be this little thing. Me and my friend ordered it, and it was just like 4 of them, like huge, spilling over. It was so wrong.
That was your dinner?
No, it was dessert.
Is there water and tea?
Yeah, it's out there. There's a little tea station.
Where is this calzone?
It's this place called Emily's in Brooklyn. It's off the C train. It's like really good.
What neighborhood is it in?
I don't even know the name of it. It's the C train near Washington Avenue.
Oh,
Bed-Stuy.
okay.
So that's Bed-Stuy.
Yeah.
That's near what's that college?
Pratt.
City?
Pratt,
Pratt,
right?
Pratt.
Isn't that near Pratt?
Thank you very
Oh,
much.
thank you.
favorite.
Yeah. Wait, did I tell you that?
No, I just know.
Or are you just saying that in the
No,
hypothetical?
I actually know that because you got them, like Hector got them from someone and you're like, yes, you get to eat them.
No, that was Samoa's.
But these are still Girl Scout.
But you know what I'm talking about? Which ones I'm talking
Yeah,
about?
Samoa's.
Mm-hmm.
Mints are my favorite.
But when I was a kid, these are my favorite.
So much gluttony.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Oh my god, give me more.
Are you recording still?
Yeah.
Mute it.